So the way that you shorten the sales cycle here is you use a technique that we call verbal commitments. Verbal commitments. And at the end of every phone call, with every hot and warm lead that you speak to, you need the very next action that a seller is going to take before they speak to you next. Okay?
Love it.
So these people, they're natural procrastinators, right? Just saying, I'll call you next week, right? I'm telling you that's the worst thing that you could ever do, right? Nothing is going to change between now and next week, right? If you start to see, I talked to this person 12 times and they always tell me to call them back later. The problem is that they're procrastinating. They keep on kicking the can down the road. And they don't even know that they're procrastinating. So if they've got a motivational problem, nothing's going to change unless you coach them. And so I always tell people, okay, we're going to talk next week. You want to, number one, set a date and time. So, okay, why don't we set an appointment Tuesday, 10 o'clock, right?
Yep.
And write that and say, I'm going to put that on my calendar. I'll be right on time. Let me ask you a question. My goal between now and then is to decide whether we're going to be doing business or not, and no is absolutely fine. Okay, but what has to happen between now and Tuesday for you to make a decision whether we're going to be doing business or not?
I love it. I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, notice that's an open-ended question. You can't say yes. You can't say no. Right? So you have to say, what has to happen? Well, I've got to talk to my sister. All right? Well, this is where most people stop. Well, talk to your sister. That's not deep enough, right? You got to go deep, right? You got to go, right?
Yeah.
And say, well, great. Let me ask you, when you talk to your sister, what is she going to say?
Yeah.
Right? Well, she's going to say the offer is too low, right? Now, if you don't go deeper here, she's going to come back and say, well, my sister said she was going to think about it and the offer's too low, so let me work on her. Right? Let me ask you this. It sounds like you already know that this is too low for her, right? So how do we hit this head on? Right? She's going to say it's too low. Are you okay with the price? Yes. Okay, so can we prepare for that conversation a little bit? When she says it's too low, let's say this. What are you going to say to her? And by the way, if you tell me to go take a hike, I'm just okay with that. But let's just cut through the fat, right?
Yeah.
And she's going to say, well, she's going to have to take it. Okay, are you prepared to tell her by Tuesday? Right? And then they think and they sit and they go, no, you're right. You're right. I've got to do. Now, of course, this doesn't work every time, right? It doesn't work every time, right? But it works a lot of the time, right? And so that's my recommendation to you. There's a lot of forms that takes on, right? It could be talking to a spouse or talking to the tenant, right? The tenant might want to buy the house, which hasn't happened ever, right?
Ever.
But the landlord say that a lot, right? But get those verbal commitments.
If you like this video, smash that subscribe button because we put out new videos every single day. And if you have a question that you want me to answer personally, join us live every Wednesday.